testify that you feel you can state definitively that all the statements Jennifer Phillips made to you in her polygraph test were true?
Yes.
And that in every minute detail, she was telling the truth about having murdered Eunice Wyatt in conspiracy with the defendant, John Wyatt?
Yes, absolutely.
And yet, you also say you were uncertain in evaluating Mr. Wyatt's polygraph as to the truthfulness of his answers.
No, Mrs. Phillips, not uncertain. What I said was that I could not state conclusively whether he was telling the truth or lying.
I'm sorry, sir, but that does sound to me like an equivocal answer. Now, you're saying that you are positive about Mrs. Phillips' results and you are doubtful about Mr. Wyatt's results.
Well, as I tried to explain to the prosecutor, Mr. Wyatt's graph left some shadow of a doubt on the validity of his answers. Now, to my analysis, this showed quite clearly that at the time of taking the examination, Mr. Wyatt was undergoing severe pangs of guilt.
Excuse me, Mr. Frisky, I must ask you to please just answer the question. Do not offer your own interpretation.
The witness is instructed to respond only to the questions put to him.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I was merely trying to clarify my statement.
I understand. So, Mr. Sinsky, you would say then that you have no doubt as to the results you obtained in either case? Not the slightest uncertainty?
None whatsoever. As I said, I would stake my professional reputation on it.
Do you recall the statement you made to Lieutenant Frank of the Henderson Police Department following the occasion of Mr. Wyatt's polygraph test when the lieutenant inquired as to how the test had gone?
Yes, I do. I told him that the most generous interpretation I could make of the examination was that it lay in a sort of a gray area between truth and falsehood, and that I wouldn't swear one way or the other that he was either telling the truth or lying. And this is what I testified to today.
Right. The polygraph test is voluntary, is it not?
Yes, it is.
So Mr. Wyatt volunteered to take this test, is that correct?
Yes, of course he did. However, many people volunteer
Mr.
for an
Sinsky,
exam.
I ask you again to not elaborate.
Mrs. Phillips, excuse me, but are you going to have many more questions of this witness?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
Well, in that case, I think we will recess for lunch and resume at 2 p.m. if you have no objection.
None whatsoever, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court will recess until 2 p.m.
All right.
Not going too well, is it, hon? Not making any headway with him at all. Boy, I've never been so grateful for recess in my life. Where do you go from here? Oh, Ellie, I haven't many ideas.
You're not going to shake him, Kathy.
All I can do is keep hammering away at the possible fallibility of the test. I don't hold out much hope. Yeah, I'm afraid that does make it sound damaging. Oh, hello, Wade. Am I glad to see you?
Well, I got your message. I came as soon as I could.
Yeah.
What can I do for you?
Well, the polygraph expert's on the stand. He's killing us. I was just wondering whether, as a psychiatrist, you could offer me something that would discredit this polygraph test.
I might be able to come up with something. You could? Possibly.
Oh, Wade, would you testify for us? I'd be so grateful.
Well, of course I will, if that's what you'd like, but I think I have a suggestion that you might find more effective.
What?
Well, why don't we get our polygraph expert to contradict himself, or at least, cast some doubt upon his own conclusions. How do you accomplish that? Very simply. You just ask him one hypothetical question.
All right.
Court will come to order. Mr. Sinsky, will you resume the stand, please? The witness is reminded that he's still under oath. Mrs. Phillips, will you continue, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Sinsky, is the polygraph test infallible?
Well, of course, nothing is infallible. However, barring any mechanical breakdown, It's as accurate a test as such a test can be, yes.
Let me be more specific then. Have there ever been any instances when the polygraph test has been shown to be inaccurate? I mean, not just doubtful, but wrong.
Yes, there have been some instances, but they're very rare.
Well, however rare, they do occur.
Objection, Your Honor. Is the defense now trying to discredit a test which they consented and the defendant himself submitted voluntarily? If they are trying to say that the test has no validity, then why did they agree to it in the first place? It seems to me they only waited until the results of the test went against them before contesting it.
Mr. Sullivan, I'm not trying to discredit the test. I'm simply trying to clarify it.
I still object. Objection is overruled. Mrs. Phillips, you may continue with your clarification.
Thank you, Your Honor. So as we were saying then, Mr. Sinsky, there have been times then when the polygraph test has been shown to be inaccurate, not just doubtful, but 100% wrong.
Yes, there have been such instances.
Let's take the example then of a pathological liar. Someone who deceives not only others, but himself. Somebody who really believes that the lies he or she tells are true.
Objection. On what grounds, Mr. Sullivan? Your Honor, John Wyatt is on trial here, not Jennifer Phillips. Jennifer Phillips is neither a defendant in this case nor a witness. And that puts her in the position of being unable to defend herself against these utterly baseless and malicious charges of being a pathological liar, which you are trying to insinuate.
Mr. Sullivan, I didn't mention Jennifer Phillips' name. You're the one who introduced it, but as long as you have, I would be more than willing to take up with you the question of whether...
Oh, no.
Jennifer Phillips is a
Stop
pathological
objection.
liar.
You're beginning to testify yourself. Now, let's stop this bickering right now. I want no more of this kind of exchange between counsel. Objection is overruled. Both objections. Mrs. Phillips, you may continue with your cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I caution you, however, not to lead the witness into calling anyone a pathological liar, especially one who is neither a witness nor a defendant in this case.
That's not my intention, Your Honor. I'm simply asking the witness a hypothetical question on his field of expertise.
Proceed, then.
Thank you. So, Mr. Sinsky, we are assuming then that you are going to test a pathological liar. Someone who sincerely believes that his or her lies are actually the truth. Now, if you were to subject such a person to your examination, what would the polygraph show? That this person was lying or telling the truth?
Well, the situation is so far-fetched.
Answer the question, please. Do not characterize it for us.
Well, under those circumstances, of course, there would be no underlying emotional disturbance.
Granted.
And therefore, I would have to say that it would indicate that the subject was telling the truth. Yes, without question. However, there is
Mr.
a
Sinsky,
series of...
thank you very much. I have no more questions for this witness.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
The witness is excused.
Of Search for Tomorrow was brought to you by Scope, the mouthwash that gives you clean, minty fresh breath. Our story will continue in just a moment.